गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. So reading today from the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 10, chapter entitled Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka, text number 24. Sava ayam sakhy anugīta-sat-katho vedeṣu guhyeṣu ca guhya-vādibhiḥ ya eka īśo jagad-ātma-līlayā sṛjaty tatra sajjate sava ayam sakhy anugīta-sat-katho vedeṣu guhyeṣu ca guhya-vādibhiḥ ya eka īśo jagad-ātma-līlayā sṛjaty tatra sajjate sava ayam sakhy anugīta-sat-katho vedeṣu guhyeṣu ca guhya-vādibhiḥ ya eka īśo jagad-ātma-līlayā sṛjaty tatra sajjate.
ayaṁ sakhi-anugīta-sat-katho
vedeṣu guhyeṣu guhya-vādibhiḥ ekaḥ jagad-ātma-līlayā Mataji. ayaṁ sakhi-anugīta-sat-katho
vedeṣu guhyeṣu guhya-vādibhiḥ jagad-ātma-līlayā sṛjaty avaty tatra sajjate.
Word for word meaning. Saha, he. Vai, also. Ayam, this. Sakhi, O my friend. Anugīta, described. Sat-kathaḥ, the excellent pastimes. Vedeṣu, in the Vedic literatures. Guhyeṣu, confidentially. Cha, as also. Guhya-vādibhiḥ, by the confidential devotees. Yaha, one who. Ekaḥ, one only. īśaḥ, the supreme controller. Jagat, of the complete creation. Atma, Supersoul. Līlayā, by the manifestation of pastimes. Sṛjati, creates. Avaty, atti, also maintains and annihilates. Na, never. Tatra, there. Sajjate, becomes attached to it. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhacharanarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. O dear friends, here is that very personality of Godhead whose attractive and confidential pastimes are described in the confidential parts of Vedic literature by his great devotees. It is he only who creates, maintains, and annihilates the material world and yet remains unaffected. Purport. As it is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, all the Vedic literatures are glorifying the greatness of Lord Sri Krishna. Here it is confirmed in the Bhagavatam also. The Vedas are expanded by many branches and sub-branches by great devotees and empowered incarnations of the Lord like Vyasa, Narada, Shukadeva Goswami, the Kumaras, Kapila, Prahlada, Janaka, Bali and Yamaraj. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam especially, the confidential parts of his activities are described by the confidential devotee Shukadeva Goswami. In the Vedanta Sutras or Upanishads, there is only a hint of the confidential parts of his pastimes. In such Vedic literatures as the Upanishads, the Lord has expressively been distinguished from the mundane conception of his existence. His identity being fully spiritual, his form, name, quality and paraphernalia, etc., have been elaborately distinguished from matter, and therefore he is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent persons as impersonal. But factually, he is the Supreme Person, Bhagavan, and he is partially represented as Paramatma or impersonal Brahman. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्। Hare Krishna. So we are discussing from the first canto, 10th chapter, departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. Recently we had Ramayana, Ram Navami festival also. I was just reading the part of Sundar Kanda in Ramayana, which is there. It comprises of only 2-3 days where Lord Ram, where Hanuman, he jumped across the ocean, he met Mother Sita. But that is the part which is read and read by the devotees a lot. Only 2 days. The rest of the kandas, they span over many years. Bal Kanda is 11 years. Sundar Kanda is just 2 days. Here also we see chapter number 10 and chapter number 11. Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka, and 11 is Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwarka. Both these incidences are for 1 day only, but these incidences have been given one entire chapter. Whereas at some places in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find that what do I say? Descendants are mentioned, and a span of thousands and thousands of years gets passed in one chapter. But here, it is not like that, because Srimad Bhagavatam, it goes into the essence. It is called as the Amala Purana, and these emotions, these feelings which the devotees have towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they are especially very special. Krishna is coming here in the first canto, then he will disappear from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, he will appear back in the 10th canto itself. So these two are chapter number 10 and chapter 11 are considered two very special chapters in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This particular section which we are discussing, it describes about the prayers or the casual talk. Anunamasit sanjalpa uttama sloka līlayā grihita chetā Sarvashruti Manohara, it is said. Whatever the talk was there of the Dwarka ladies, they were just standing on the rooftop and were discussing. And what highly philosophical things are they discussing? To see the Lord, he creates, he maintains, he annihilates, but he does not get affected. He is described very deeply in the confidential parts of the Vedic literature. This is what is their casual talk. So we don't know when they will sit for us. So therefore, Krishna likes this talk much more than even what the Vedas are speaking. Even the Vedas personified, they may be speaking something, but Krishna likes these talks very much. He appreciates that talk because this talk is out of love. The devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they love him a lot, and out of that love, first of all, we see in any of the prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam, we see that devotees are very adept in glorifying the greatness of Krishna, rather than speaking about his sweetness in the very beginning. Because Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu's interaction with the material world is also said to be Ras Leela. And first that Ras Leela has to be understood before going to the actual Ras Leela of Lord Krishna. Otherwise, Srila Prabhupada says it does not remain a Ras Leela, it is Raskal Leela. Prabhupada used to say like that. So these devotees, the Dwarka Vasis, they are very beautifully describing that how uh, Krishna, he creates, he maintains, he annihilates, but he does not get affected. This is the divinity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Etad īśanamīśasya prakritistopi tadgunai na yujyate sadatmasthair yatha buddhistadashraya. This is the divinity. What is the divinity of Krishna? That he creates, he maintains, he annihilates the material world, he is in touch, but still he does not get affected in any way. Example is given of a spider. A spider creates his spider web, but spider does not get caught by his own web, but he catches all other animals. He catches mosquitoes, flies are caught in the spider's web, but the spider does not get caught. Similarly, Krishna's creation is like that. Although Krishna is creating, but still he does not get affected by his own creation. Another example is given, that of a sun. Sun is there, sun is situated at a particular place, and the sun may it may shower the sun rays, and due to the sun rays plants are growing, plants are getting nourished, the urine and stool is getting purified, but the sun is not in any way getting affected or getting contaminated by that. Similarly, the Lord, his creation is like that. Another example Srila Prabhupada gives at one place. He says that suppose we are going through some place. Many times when we go through trains and some sugar factory is there, then we will get a very dirty kind of smell there while going. So Srila Prabhupada says that the smell which is coming, the smell, the fragrance or the obnoxious smell, and the smelling power of the person, both are disconnected from each other. The smell is different, the person is different. Similarly, Lord's creation is like that. The Lord does not get affected. So the first point that you have to understand is, when the Lord creates, he does not get affected by that creation. Then the next thing is, when the Lord descends into this material world, what happens when he descends? He does not get attached or he does not get affected by the material qualities. When he descends into this world, the example is given of a prime minister. A prime minister may visit a mental asylum, but the prime minister cannot be governed. A foolish, mad person, he may say, hey, you have come to the mental asylum, now you also get into one of the prisons here and you also stay along with us. No, he is not affected by any of the rules or any of the laws of the mental asylum. Similarly, when Krishna descends to this material world, he is not in any way affected by his own creation. We may be affected. See, there is a lot of difference between ourselves and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we do something, when we create something, we are so much affected by our own creation. Even a small thing we do, even this mobile, for example, now this mobile is so far away from me. But still, if that mobile falls away from a great height, mobile will break. Along with that, my heart will also break, because I am attached to it. But Krishna has created, so this is such a small thing. What to speak of cars, what to speak of other things, what to speak of our dear friends, relatives. He's so much attached. And furthermore, what to speak of our own body. How much we are attached to that. Therefore, it is said that at the time of death, the pain is of 40,000 scorpions biting. Why 40,000 scorpions? Because the attachment is so much. But when one becomes a devotee, then there is no problem. He gets detached from this material world. But the point what I was trying to say is that we get affected, we get attached to whatever things are there which we have created or which we are indulging with. But Krishna, he does not get affected in any way. The third thing what you have to understand is, Krishna, he associates with woman, but he remains unagitated. He associates, but he remains unagitated, he remains unaffected in that also. The first canto only, 11th chapter, that wonderful verse comes. Uddama bhava pishunam laval guhasa vrida valoka nihato madano piyasam sammoya chapamajahat pramadostamasta yastendriyam vimatitum kuhakairna shekuhu. So it is said that the The queens of Dwarka, they were so beautiful, so enchanting that Lord Shiva also, he also could get affected by them. Even Cupid, he gave up his bow in frustration. But they could not agitate the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yasendriyam vimatitum kuhakair na shekuhu. Srila Prabhupada says in the pastime of Narayan Rishi that when Indra, he had the desire to disturb the penance of Narayan Rishi was completely unaffected. At the same time, thousands of beautiful apsaras started coming from his body. So Srila Prabhupada writes that a confectioner who is always manufacturing sweetmeats, he has a shop of sweetmeats. He will hardly get attracted to sweets because whole day he is there with sweets only. So he has not so much attraction for sweets. Similarly is the case with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whatever he creates, whatever he he associates with also, he remains unaffected by that. Also, Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna, he does not get affected by wrath. He does not get affected by anger. So if there is no anger in Krishna, there cannot be any lust. Anger is a byproduct of lust. When lust is not fulfilled, it leads to anger. Kamat krodho bijayate, we say in Bhagavad Gita. But Krishna, he is not having any kind of anger. So what kind of lust is there? Does not have. Furthermore, the devotees, those who hear about Krishna's pastimes with his beloved consorts, with the gopis, what happens to them? They get purified. Ridroga mashu apohinoti achirena dhira. So how can those pastimes be of any mundane existence? And when we see the devotees of Lord Krishna also, if we see Sukadeva Goswami, he was not attached to anything mundane. Right from the very beginning of his life, 16 years he did not come outside the womb only. He was thinking, if I come out, then I will get attached to Maya. Then Vyasdeva had to go personally to Lord Krishna. He was there in Dwarka. Vyas said to Krishna that, please come, my son is not coming out of his womb and he's giving a lot of trouble to my wife. Then Krishna came, he said, I guarantee that he will not be affected by my material energy. Then Shukadeva Goswami came out. As soon as he came out, went off and naked ladies were bathing there. He did not get affected. They also understood that he is a person who is completely absorbed in transcendence. And such a person is mentioning about the glories of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with his consorts, with his gopis. So how can those pastimes be anything mundane? How can those pastimes be related in any way to the mundane lust? Therefore, Atmendriya priti vancha tare bali kam, Krishnendriya priti ichha dhare premana. It is said that the gopis love, it does not have any kind of lust in that. Mundane lust is compared to iron. But the love which the gopis and Krishna they have, it is like gold. There is no comparison between gold and iron. Gold is gold. Like that. So Krishna is not affected in any way. His devotees are also not affected. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he glorified Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajeshatanaya Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachit Upasana Vrajavadu Vargena Ya Kalpita. He said that the worship of the gopis is the highest form of devotion. At the same time, when he was living in Jagannath Puri as a sannyasi, he would not allow any woman to be closer to him. He would make them pay respects from far away. So such a person or such a Supreme Personality of Godhead, why will he bother to discuss about some mundane lady, some affair between a man and a woman? He will not do that. So we have to understand that Krishna creates this material world, he is unaffected. Krishna descends into this material world, but he does not get affected. Like for example, you are going into the swimming pool. If you go into the swimming pool, naturally we will get wet. Or going into the ocean, naturally we will get wet. But if suppose somebody is going in a submarine, what will happen? He is going in a submarine, he is not affected by the water. Similarly, when Krishna comes in this material world, he descends through his own potency. Ajopisan avayatma bhutana mishwaropisan. Atma Maya, he Sambhavami Atma Maya, he descends through his own potency, he gets through his own potency. That is why he is not affected by his creation in any way. So this is about the Lord's not getting affected. Similarly, devotees also, they don't get affected. This particular verse, na tatra sajjate. In Bhagavad Gita also this particular word comes, sajjate. Sajjate means being attached. So when Krishna is describing about the difference between a person in ignorance and a person in knowledge, so he says, what is the definition of a person in ignorance? He says, prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma karta ahamiti manyate. He thinks that I am the only doer. Whatever activities are done by the material nature, that verse actually means that Krishna is also a sanctioner. The Lord, the living entity, cannot be an independent doer of any activity. He requires the sanction of so many things. He requires the sanction of Prakriti, he requires the sanction of Lord. Then only any activity done by the living entity can be fulfilled. But a living entity feels that no, I am doing everything. No, without the sanction of Paramatma, without the sanction of Supreme Personality of Godhead, we cannot even lift our hands. What to speak of speaking? What to speak of all other things? We cannot do anything without the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But ignorant persons, they feel that I am doing everything. But what is the difference between an ignorant person and a person in knowledge? He says, the next verse immediately after this, tattvavettu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. These persons, this person he knows, tattvavettu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo. He understands the distinction between the gunas. He just understands. What does he feel is, my eyes are seeing the sense objects. Eyes, sense objects. What have I got to do in this? I am the spirit soul. This is the mind, these are the senses. I am not in any way connected to the mind and the senses, nor to the sense objects. And this is what he understands, therefore he does not get affected. Guna guneshu vartante iti matva na sajjate. He does not get affected. Like a devotee, if he goes to a food mall, devotee understands, I am going to take only prasad. Devotee is moving in the midst of sense objects. His eyes are touching the sense objects. But will a devotee get affected by that? He will say, no, this is not prasad, I reject it. Even though it may be best of the costliest of the things, he will not get affected by that. So that is the difference between an ignorant person and a person in knowledge. So till now we were discussing about how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unaffected by this material world. Now we'll try to discuss, here Srila Prabhupada is writing something. Here he writes that Lord is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent people as impersonal, but factually he is the Supreme Person, Bhagavan, and he is partially represented as Paramatma or impersonal Brahman. So we all know that there are three stages in the realization of the absolute truth. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdyate. Brahman is there, Paramatma is there, and Bhagavan is there. Even Brahman is an authorized method of worship of the absolute truth. But still, we find Srila Prabhupada is very heavy against Brahman realization. Prabhupada is very strong against even Brahman realization, which is an authorized method of worship. Why is this so? We'll try to discuss something about that. So there are, as we know, there are three kinds of aspirations which a devotee may have. One is Brahman, which generally the Jnani's desire to merge into the impersonal effulgence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the next are the yogis who desire to have Paramatma worship. So there they may either get some kind of mukti, salokya mukti, samipya mukti, or if they desire, they can get sayujya mukti also. Most of them, they prefer sayujya. So they merge into the impersonal Brahman. Whereas the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aspire for Bhagavan realization and they want to serve Krishna in that very aspect. Prabhupada generally, he combines both the Brahmavadis and the Mayavadis. Brahmavadis are people who desire Brahman. Mayavadis are people, those who deride Krishna. Avajananti ma mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, avajananti ma mudam. These foolish people, they don't know. And what they think, that I have descended in a form as a human being. No, he says, I am not a human being. I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But they say, no, I have descended as a human. Param bhavam ajananto. They do not know my superior nature. So the destination of Brahmavadis is Brahma Jyoti. And the destination of Mayavadis is hell. Even among Brahmavadis, there are two kinds of people. One of them, they desire to merge into impersonal Brahman. The other are even more ambitious. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes this. They want to stick to the body of Lord Krishna. So when Krishna is there, he is embracing the gopis. They also want to have the feeling that we are also embracing the gopis. So Srila Prabhupada gives a very wonderful example. He says that a mother is there and mother gives birth to a child. The child is born, the child grows up, and after he grows up, he feels that material life is a lot of suffering. I don't want to live anymore. And he says to the mother, Mother, this world is full of suffering, please take me back inside your womb. Mother cannot do that. Mother cannot do that. How can she do that? Now, once the child has come out, it is out. It cannot go back into the mother's womb. But he said, Supreme Personality of God, it is not like that. If somebody desires that I want to merge into the Supreme Personality of God, into the impersonal effulgence, then the Supreme Personality of Godhead allows that. He allows that. But then why Srila Prabhupada was so much against? Recently, few months back, I had gone home, so my mother was saying to me, she said that when I hear the lectures of Radhanath Swami, so I feel compassion exuding from him. So a lot of compassion is there in his talks and in his. But if you see Prabhupada, sometimes I feel he's a bit harsh when he says rascal, when he says foolish. So he's a bit harsh. Actually, Srila Prabhupada is not harsh. One time, this Dr. Patel, who was there in Bombay, every time he used to go for a morning walk. And this Dr. Patel, one time, he used to call himself as a Vaishnava, but still he used to argue with Srila Prabhupada. So, one time, this Dr. Patel, he also got, he begged in Crawford Market and he got beddings for the devotees. And begging for him was a very menial thing. He did that, and especially because the devotees were not having proper arrangements, proper accommodations. So he begged beddings for the devotees. And later, all those beddings were misplaced by the devotees here and there. And then on one morning walk, he said to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, what is this? I begged and I got these beddings for these devotees. Now only one is remaining. What is this? Prabhupada said, just see, my disciples, they are not attracted to anything material. The same mukti what you are desiring for, then how they will be attracted to that? They will not be attracted to that in any way. One time this Dr. Patel, he got in a kind of very debating conversation with Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was actually criticizing a person whom Dr. Patel eulogized. So, Prabhupada, so Dr. Patel, he started arguing so much that his friends had to pull away from Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada also got very heavy. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked Prabhupada, why do you engage with him unnecessarily? What exactly is his position? Is he a Mayavadi? Is he a devotee? Prabhupada said he calls himself a devotee. But now when I pricked at the point where it hit him the most, then his real nature came out. His real nature came out. And then Prabhupada said that we have to engage everyone. Our duty is to engage everyone, even Mayavadis. And when he went to the United States, the first person whom he stayed with, obviously, was Sally Agrawal. After Sally Agrawal, he stayed at Ram Mishra's place. And when he was staying at Ram Mishra's place, although Prabhupada was at philosophical odds with him, but in his behavior, he was very, very perfect with him. He used to cook for him. And Ram Mishra later said that he actually saved my life by his cooking. He saved my life. So this Dr. Patel, when he got into this tussle with Srila Prabhupada, he did not used to meet Srila Prabhupada then. Prabhupada used to go by morning walk, he used to remain at one place. Then one day, he again got the inspiration. And he again went in front of Srila Prabhupada. And the first statement, he spoke to Srila Prabhupada. Swamiji, we have been taught to respect all saints. So therefore, I am coming and offering my respects to you. That was his intention. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, and I have been taught to teach all of you who is not a saint. I have been taught to teach who is not a saint. So therefore, Prabhupada was very clear. One time my mother's father, now is no more, but he picked up a particular book which was written by Srila Prabhupada disciple. And there Srila Prabhupada was little heavy on criticizing a famous impersonalist. And Prabhupada is giving, Prabhupada in a personal conversation, he's saying to that devotee that this fellow, he was a womanizer. And when my grandfather, he read that book, he stopped reading only. He said, what kind of, how can he, the Swamiji is criticizing these people? How is it? How he can criticize? But actually, that was not the case. Prabhupada was wanting to protect the devotees from all kinds of dangerous philosophies. Like Rupa Goswami also says in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, he says that all these dangerous philosophies are like volcanoes. They are like sharks, which may eat up a devotee's devotional service. And therefore, it is necessary to protect ourselves from these dangerous philosophies. So Prabhupada was very apt when he was, even Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, we find one time he had gone with Bhakti Vinod Thakur to a particular place, and the person was a Mayavadi, and Prabhupada was not behaving, and Srila Saraswati Thakur was not respecting him. And then he asked, that impersonalist asked to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I guess your son is not in a proper mood. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, no, he does not like to associate with impersonalists and sahajas. Does not. And the same impersonalist was a very famous impersonalist in Bengal. When he came to Navadvip saying that I am Lord Chaitanya, Srila Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur came out of his matha and slapped that devotee, slapped that impersonalist. Even though they may be very highly respected by the people in general. But Prabhupada's business was, and the business of the entire Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is to point out defects in such philosophy, because of which either what will happen, one will merge into the impersonal Brahman. What is the problem in merging with impersonal Brahman? Problem is, Prabhupada says, so actually in one of the verses in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya Tvananyaya Shakya Aham Evam Vidorjana. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives the definition of 4 kinds of jnanis. He says 4 kinds of jnanis are there. The first kind of jnani is a jnani without any bhakti. He does not have any element of bhakti. Now please understand, even for a karma yogi, even for a jnana yogi, some amount of bhakti is required in order to attain perfection. If that bhakti element is not there, he cannot attain any perfection. Therefore, when Krishna says this verse, avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam, he says, those who deride my form, those who deride my human form, and they say that I have come, I have descended in a material form. Mayavadis, they regard Krishna's form as Maya. For Brahmavadis, they have to regard Krishna's form as eternal. They have to worship Krishna's form. But those who do not worship, those who deride Krishna, immediately in the next verse, Krishna is giving what is the consequence of such a attitude? Mogasha moga karmano moga jnana vichitisa. So our Acharya is right, even though they may be very adept in Karma Yoga, all their practice of Karma Yoga will be useless. Even they are adept at Jnana Yoga, they cannot get any result by their Jnana Yoga. This is the first kind of Jnanis, those who don't have any Bhakti. And they are condemned. Kleshala eva sṛjate. It is like whatever they are doing is completely useless, just as beating an empty husk. Brahmaji says like that. And they are heavily condemned by the scriptures. The second kind of jnanis are the Jnana Mishra Bhaktas, but again, they do not regard the eternality of the Lord's form. They do not regard the Satchidananda nature of the Lord's form. And again, what is the result? Srimad Bhagavatam describes, Ya esha purusham sakshat atma prabhamamishwaram na bhajanti avajananti sthanad bhrashtad patanti adha. Na bhajanti avajananti. Bhajan nahi karte Bhagwan ka, avajananti. Disrespect his form. Sthanad bhrashtad. They fall down. They fall down. Yene ravindaksha vimuktamanina stvayasta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya. Because their buddhi is impure. Avishuddhaya. Aruya krishena param padam tatoh patanti adha. Anadrita. Adar nahi karte kyunki wo. Anadrita yushmat angraya. What do they do not give respect to? They do not respect the Lord's lotus feet. Therefore, they fall down. So, that is the destination of the second kind of second kind of jnanis. And Prabhupada would criticize them also very much. Prabhupada would criticize them a lot. And they are also condemned as per the scriptures. The third kind of devotee or jnanis are those who accept, the Jnana Mishra Bhaktas, those who accept the Lord form. They accept the Lord's form, but and what is the destination? The destination is Sayujya Mukti. And they are considered as praiseworthy by the scriptures. Mind you, they are considered as praiseworthy by the scriptures. But Srila Prabhupada criticizes, or he makes very clear about such person that this also a devotee does not desire. And all our acharyas are in the same line. Even if we see Prithu Maharaj, Varadvidopta Varadeshwaradbuddha Katam Vrinite Gunavikriyatmanam Yenarakanam Apisanti Dehinam Tanisha Kaivalyapate Vrinenacha Nakamayenatha Tadapyaham Kochin. He says, my dear Lord, you are the Lord of Kaivalya. You can grant liberation. You, even the people, those who are going into hell, you award them whatever their desires are. What is difficulty for you in awarding liberation? But the next verse, na kamayenatha tad api aham kochin. He even does not say the name of mukti or liberation. Bhai nayatra yushmak charanam bhujasava. Because there is no taste of your lotus feet there. There is no taste of, so I do not desire there. The main problem in going to impersonal effulgence of the Lord or Brahma Jyoti is that our service attitude gets lost. If service attitude is not there, just like a person is called as a Brahmana if he has the qualities of a Brahmana. If he is not a Brahmana, he is called as a Brahma Bandhu. Similarly, if a Vaishnava does not have Seva Bhav, he can be called as a Vaishnava Bandhu. So service is an essential factor in a devotee's life. Without service, devotee cannot exist. Therefore, salokya sarshi samipya sarupya ekvatam apyuta diyamanam na grihananti vina mat sevanam jana. अरे सेवा नहीं है तो मेरे को कुछ चाहिए नहीं. So devotees do not desire that sukha aishwarya uttar mukti. Just go in the spiritual world, एक झाड़ के नीचे बैठ जाओ. No. क्या करेंगे आप झाड़ के नीचे बैठ के? इसलिए devotees want to serve here also till their last breath. Prabhupada said, till the last breath I will serve. They want to serve here also, and when they go to the spiritual world, there they want to serve eternally. They don't want to sleep also. Krishna's friends in the night also, they get up at the night only and go to Krishna's house. Mother has to say, Mother Yashoda has to say to the friends, Hare Krishna is sleeping, come after some time. So devotee wants to serve continuously. And he regards Brahman as no more than a fig tree. We all know, correct? The fig tree is there. Lot of now is the season when the fig they fall. We don't care for that. It is not edible also. It is not used for any purpose also. Similarly, devotee disregards Brahman. He does not give any importance to Brahman. And many of Srila Prabhupada disciples also, like Gurudas Prabhu, he was very expert at defeating Mayavadis. Mayavadis impersonalists alike. Prabhupada grouped them all in one category and smashed them thoroughly. This Gurudas Prabhu, he was one time at Kumbh Mela and one fellow was there. He was saying that उसको बस ठंडी बज रहा था. He was feeling a lot of cold. He was asking for some blanket. And Gurudas Prabhu said, take this thread. One thread I will give you of the blanket. Thread is equal and the blanket is equal. Everything is one. Right? Everything is one. So take this particular thread. And then he was trying. He wanted to prove his own philosophy. He was trying to sleep, but he was feeling very cold. And he said, no, I reject my philosophy. Please give me the entire blanket. One time Gurudas Prabhu went for a program and he said, oh, everything is one. So your wife and my wife, they are the one. So one night you can give your wife for enjoyment. And the people, they were so flabbergasted. They went to Srila Prabhupada and complained, your disciple is giving such kind of asabdha examples. These examples are not so good. So please send somebody else. But one another time he said, if everything is the same, okay, I give you stool, I give you halwa. What is the difference? Eat anything. So Prabhupada very clearly, he smashed all the Mayavadi conceptions. Prabhupada used to say, you are entering the house. Even Baldev Vidyabhushan gives this example. He says, when I am entering the city does not mean that I am becoming one with the city. City is different, I am different. Correct or not? I can never become one with the city. Similarly, green parrot entering a green tree. It cannot become one with the green tree. It retains its individuality. So our individuality has to be retained. And another problem is when we scriptures, they talk about this. Why is Brahman realization an authorized process? Because scriptures talk about the Lord and the living entity being equal qualitatively. But if we focus too much on the qualitative aspect, I am equal, you are equal. If I focus too much on that, then the service attitude will be lost. Na? If I say I am equal to you, why would I like to serve you? I would not like to serve. So even when we are practicing sadhana bhakti, when we are worshipping Radha and Krishna also, the devotees, those who are engaging in deity worship of Radha and Krishna, they are told that you have to see Radha and Krishna as Lakshmi and Narayan and worship in Dasya Bhav only. In Dasya Bhav only we have to worship every time. So this Dasatva is very important for a devotee. If that Dasatva is not there, then a devotee is no longer a devotee. Even the impersonal vibration, Om, which is there, Om. Now many people they call Om. Now what does exactly Om represent? Chaitanya Charitamrita Prabhupada writes in a purport. He says Om represents three letters, A, U and Ma, of which A stands for Krishna, U stands for Radharani, and Ma stands for all the living entities. So when a person is chanting Om, he is worshipping Krishna, Radharani, and all the entire devotees, the devotee entourage of Lord Shri Krishna. So he is worshipping that. He says that. So but the Mayavadis, they consider that I want to become one. One time a Mayavadi was there. He was giving a lecture on Brahman, that how everything is one, and he was giving lecture in the forest, and at that time a tiger appeared there. So immediately the speaker, he was speaking on Brahman, but he ran away from there. He ran away and was running as fast as he could. He climbed a tree, and one of his disciples, he was closely chasing him, and he while running, one doubt came in his mind, and he asked his Guruji, my dear Guruji, you are Brahman, the tiger is Brahman, so why you are running away from the tiger? I did not understand. And the Guruji said, yes, I am Brahman, the tiger is Brahman, and my running away was also Brahman. That is also illusion. So there is difference. Vivartavad means what? They say that Brahman is one and the Brahman cannot be bifurcated, it cannot change. But Vaishnava philosophy is Shakti Parinamvad. Lord remains the same. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. But what changes is the Lord's energies. The Lord's energies do everything. Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Balakriyacha. Lord Krishna is playing the flute. Mahavishnu is there, he is just inhaling, exhaling. All the universes are getting created through him. He does not have to exert himself. Prabhupada gives the example, just like an Atlas is there holding a globe and he becomes very tired, sweat is coming, he is holding the muscles. Krishna did not show any muscles while lifting Govardhan hill. He did not show any muscles. So Krishna does not exert in any way like that. So therefore, when you have to see, when such kind of verses come, so the acharyas, they are always very much wanting to make very clear the difference between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even Ramanujacharya, he speaks about Vishishta Advaita philosophy. What is Vishishta Advaita? Advaita, everything is Brahman, yes, agreed. But in that Brahman also there are various variegations, God, men, and the Supreme Dvavima Purusha Loke, Sharak Shaksharevacha, Sharas Sarvani Bhutani, Kutaksto Akshara Uchyate. Living entities are there, fallible and infallible, but among the two, Uttamas Purushastvanya Prakritim me Pudharita. Yolokatrayamavishya Vibhartavya Ishvara. The Paramatma is supreme, even higher than that is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So like that, Ramanujacharya also says. So we find all our acharyas, they are very clear in these things. And the fourth kind of Gyanis, we had discussed three kinds of Gyanis. The fourth Gyani is one who comes in association with devotees, he gives up his Jnana and he takes to Bhakti. And then he can go and enter into any of the Vaikuntha planets. Like that. So that is the fourth kind of Gyani. We'll end here. I am very sorry for such a technical description, but the verse was like that. So I thought we should give justice to the verse. Any comments or questions? Example for the fourth thing, Shukadeva Goswami. Parinishthitopi Nairgunya Uttama Shloka Līlayā Grihita Chirsa Radarshe Akyanam Yaditavan. About Shukadeva Goswami, it is said he was fixed in Brahman, but he was distracted from Brahman. Harer Gunakshipta Matir. He was distracted from Brahman by the description of qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there is also one more thing, that nowhere we find the devotees of Supreme Personality of Godhead, they aspire for Brahman realization. But many Brahman realized devotees, they start and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even four Kumaras. Even four Kumaras. Like that. And all over the devotees we find, even Dhruva Maharaj says, Ya nivrittis tanubritam tava padatmi. He says this is useless. Rupa Goswami says, it is Brahmanya picha jagat guru. He says, Brahman is of no use for a devotee who is practicing Krishna consciousness. Like that. We'll stop. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल।